Here we go again, Busta-Bust and all fans, we're back. I thought this is an appropriate time to finally do the long-awaited Sony A7III review. I was able to put the camera through its paces and see how I felt about it so that you could make a better informed decision on if this camera is fit for your workflow. I'm gonna try to stay away from the spec side and try to tell you how I felt about using it in the field. Every time I tried to do that, every time I would just go back to the specs. Like, I'm like, this, and this, and this. So quickly, I'm gonna just go over the specs and just get that shit out of the way. So the A7III is a full frame mirrorless camera that shoots at 4K, 30 frames, 8-bit. I believe it downsamples its 4K from 6K, so it has a very nice 4K image. It has some basic I/O ports from the headphone jack to the microphone jack to HDMI mini, USB-C, and a USB micro to charge. It has really weird ergonomics. It has a decent viewfinder. It has a very shitty ass tilting screen, like very shitty, like shit, like poop emoji shit. You know what I'm saying, bro? Hell yeah. So let's jump right into the build quality. It's very solid, very small. Like honestly, it's a little too small. My pinky's always like off of here. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of frustrating sometimes, but
get the battery grip.
Yeah, just get the battery grip, you'll be fine, or just stop being a little baby and you'll be fine too. And it has a variety of I/O ports, like I said, but I wish I had a full HDMI so that way the HDMI would actually be on there and I don't have to really stress about it. But to be honest, I'm not really plugging any other monitors into here. Programmable buttons, I got two custom buttons here and then one custom button on the back, and honestly that's all I really need. I don't really need anything else. I think my C2 button I programmed to ISO. C1 is white balance. C3, I don't even know what is C3. C3 is my focus motor. Just different custom settings up on the top with the dial. So you got custom 1 setting and custom 2. And then you have your manual shooting mode, which majority of the time I shoot in there. The S&Q has a little bit less bit rate when it comes to the slow motion information that you'd be getting. That's why I have number 2 into slow motion. Yeah, the menu system is fucking trash. Like, fucking trash. In the favorites tab, I have all the things that I really will use in there, so I don't really have to go digging throughout the menu. But that's why I just say, you know what, I'll just put everything in the favorites menu, and all the things that I will ever use, and all the other stuff, I'll just deal with it later. So onto the low light. Let me just cut to the chase. It's fucking amazing. It's the best in the fucking market. Let's stop BSing. It's the best low light camera on a mirrorless camera under $2,000. Fight me, pussy. I can't even think of anything better than that. Partially, it's due to the low megapixel count, well, lower 20 megapixels. I believe the low light capability on here outperforms the A7S II. That's what a lot of forums and a lot of people I've seen that have done reviews and comparisons have stated. If you give the sensor just a little bit of light, it'll take that light and it'll run with it. Like, you'll get a lot out of it just by adding little bits of lights. Yeah, that's what we did with Khalil's music video. A lot of the times we would just have small little like LED lights. We'd use the aperture MX and we would try to like accent him, and then we'd use the, I don't know how to pronounce these, Yangdong lights. Yanggungang, the lightsabers. We used the lightsabers to light him, and honestly, the music video turned out fantastic. I love it. Here is. Yeah, that way. I'd try to avoid using slow motion in very dark situations because it just becomes very blurry and the ISO becomes very apparent, especially because you're having to shoot at 250th shutter speed, so that really cuts down in the amount of light you'd be able to get. Jumping down to autofocus. It's fucking phenomenal. What am I gonna say? Like, I can't even lie. The autofocus is fantastic. Sometimes the autofocus does a better job than I would do manually. For example, I was shooting this scene in Tyler's movie, and I was following the main guy that's walking up to the door, and the autofocus kept with his hand and it focused onto the envelope that the guy was carrying rather than focusing on where the guy was walking, and that just added to the dynamic of the shot, and it pretty much made the shot way cooler than I had originally intended it to be. And I was like, you know what, the autofocus, bro, you're fucking awesome. Like, I fucking love you. It's very fast, very responsive. The only time I had a little bit of issue was when I was using this Sony f1.8 55 millimeter at low light, like very, very low light with no light at all. We were shooting in the street, and the only thing that was lighting us was just the street light, like probably like 20-30 feet down the road. Yeah, it was just hard to keep up with the dark subject that wasn't lit at all. And yeah, so I don't really blame it, but other than that, it has never failed me at all at any of the shoots. I know this is a video review, but for photos, it has a very phenomenal eye detection. I wish eye detection was for video. That would like literally be a game changer. But for the photos, it's fantastic. I literally just press this little button I have programmed on here, and I just, you know, and just snap, 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 and I don't even have to worry about like keeping it in focus. Jumping to the image quality, I like it a lot actually. Sometimes I like the image quality from this a bit more than the GH5. I just like the look that the 6K is downsampling. I don't know, it just looks more detailed and more fine-tuned. I know it's not 4K 10-bit and it doesn't have a lot of bitrate, but it just, the way it looks just looks great. Like sometimes I get so carried along with like the specs that I forget to look at the image and see what image I preferably like looking at more. I mean, it is all subjective. Sometimes people like looking at this image more than this image, but the image quality on here is very fantastic. I have done like some extent color grading for my friend Bon Cantina, his music video. In one of the shots, we had a tree that was orangish, and I turned that into a very pink color, and that was kind of pushing the Kodak a little bit, in my opinion. You could see a little bit of stretching and a little bit of stress, but I think it honestly withheld it very well. Obviously the 10-bit from the GH5 would have helped out a lot, but for the camera itself, for this camera, for an 8-bit Kodak, I think it did fantastic. The slow motion is a very slow bitrate slow motion, so it's not very smoothish. I'd say like you'd get more information from the GH5 slow motion, but I still think it does a fantastic job. You'll still get that cinematic vibe, and if you add light to it, you'll be great, honestly. Another cool thing I liked about it is that you have the clear image zoom function. So in there, you're able to zoom in a little bit further without killing the 4K resolution. So since you're downsampling from a 20 megapixel thing going down, you'll have a little bit more room to play with. I know at some of my sister's concerts, when I was taking photos, I just used the clear image zoom to zoom in a little bit further, and I was getting crisp, clear images, and I actually was rocking with it. I liked it a lot. Jumping into battery life, it's fantastic. Honestly, I have no complaints about it whatsoever. 2 batteries will last you an all-day shoot. I think 1 battery, if you use it conservatively, should last you all day too. I shot a movie with Tyler. We shot from 9 a.m. straight to like 8 p.m. Like straight the whole time we were shooting around like 7:30, and then I switched to a new battery at that time. So like seriously, you can't beat these Z level batteries. These are flipping amazing. Here you go, I saved you 1. Yeah, honestly, like more companies should be using this, because this is like fantastic, especially at the rate that this is subsampling 4K down to, or 6K down to 4K. Like, dude, like this is like literally eating it all up. Overheating, I know the others, Sony Mark II level cameras had overheating issues. I had overheating issues I think once. I was shooting Tyler's movie, and we were in a very confined area, and we were shooting for I think like 8 hours, but going into the 8 hour, the 4th hour, we had overheating issues, and it was in a very warm, crowded kitchen area, and I just literally waited like probably like 3 minutes, opened up the little the back screen of it, let it flipped out, opened up the bottom part, and then like closed it after like 5 minutes, and was ready to go, and didn't have any overheating issues after that. They only overheated on me once, and I took this to India, and I was shooting a lot constantly the whole time, and I didn't have any overheating issues whatsoever. And India's like a fucking desert, so like if I didn't have any issues there, I hope you won't have any issues. Yeah, like I stated before, the menu system's completely fucking trash. Go through it, put everything in your favorites, the things that you'll use. So in mine, I have aspect ratio, APS-C, Super 35 mode, which I don't really use because I don't have Super 35 lenses and whatnot, but if I did, I would. File format, recording settings, focus peaking, format, monitor, just in case I want to like turn up the brightness on my monitor over here, manual focus assist, anti-flicker, custom shit, display quality, HDMI, and then silent shooting mode. So I don't really have too much stuff. The stabilization on here is alright. I mean, coming from the GH5, like nothing can honestly beat the GH5. I could like literally do handheld shots. You really wouldn't be able to tell if I'm on a gimbal or not, because that dual stabilization system is like just fantastic. But on here, like nah, like this is more for like if you're stationary, but then again, it is a full frame sensor, so it is a little bit harder to stabilize. This camera is great for gimbal work. If you want to just put this on like a Ronin S and then just go shoot, it'll just pick everything up in autofocus. You have great low light for any unexpected rooms that you're going into, because when I'm shooting weddings and whatnot, I don't know what I'm gonna run into. Am I going to be in a situation where it has low light, or is it going to be a high contrast situation, or what's going on, where people are going? Like everything's hectic. Weddings are hectic. Don't do them. So honestly, this is very great for very run and gun situations, especially for like run and gun like music videos or live events or whatever you're doing, just because the low light's great and the autofocus is fantastic, and you can just like have it up and running and like ready to go. You can balance it easily on gimbals and stuff like that too. The color profile that I usually shoot on is a very customized Cine 2 color profile. Make Art Now, I think that's his channel name. He makes fantastic Sony videos. He makes fantastic videos, like period. I really learned a lot about the Sony camera from him. He makes great high quality like videos on YouTube, and like, oh my god, just check him out. I can't even, words can't describe how much I love his videos. But on one of his videos, he was talking about the Sony color picture profile, and he came up with the low light picture profile and a very nice flat Cine 2 picture profile. When I used his low light picture profile, I could not see any ISO whatsoever. Like I was shooting at probably like 8,000, and I really wasn't able to see any ISO. So like whatever he did with that picture profile thing, fantastic, bro, and I really appreciate everything that you do. Working with this in post-production takes a little bit more work. I don't like the skin tones that I get from this. I just stop being a baby and I just deal with it in post-production, to be honest. Jumping into the lens choices I have a 24 to 105 f4 G lens, and then I have a Sony 55 1.8 lens. Very great lenses. I'm able to use this lens for a lot of like low light concert shootings and a low light like just photography and videography, and it's very small and compact like compared to other lenses. The 24 to 105 is the lens that's usually on my camera the most. It's a f4. It's not as fast. The low light capability of this camera counterbalances the speed. I didn't feel like dropping another $1,000 on the G Master lens because I heard it's heavier. I didn't want to have the issues of balancing it on a gimbal, and if I was going to travel with it a lot, I just didn't want that heftiness in my bag. Also, I get a little bit more of a reach with that 105, and that creates a bit more bokeh, so honestly I'm kind of satisfied with that. I think this is probably the best hybrid photo video shooter in my opinion. Great autofocus, great low light, great image quality, and very small and portable. When I took this to India, the best part about the camera was its size and portability of it. I was able to just like literally yank it out of my bag, snap, 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 and then just put it back in, and I was like Gucci. Also, the fact that I was able to have this super long reach on this lens, and I was able to like reach a lot of far things and stuff like that. It was nice. I wish I had more stability, but I brought the Ronin S to India, which was a bit more of a hassle. Sometimes I didn't even feel like whipping out the Ronin S because the shot would already be like lost by the time I set it up and whatnot. But yeah, honestly my biggest complaint for this is probably the viewfinder. It's very low res viewfinder. I know a lot of people were talking shit about it, but I was like, oh whatever, like yeah, it can't be that bad. I mean, coming from the GH5, I preferred the GH5's viewfinder, but this viewfinder is kind of like it's not as sharp. Like I wish it was just like I like how small it is, but I wish you could just add the little pinky more, man. Like it would be okay if it was just like that much bigger. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like on the bottom door, I forgot, like it doesn't close like that. I have to like go down and then I gotta like do that. Like it's just the little things. For the SD card, take out the SD card, like it's facing the other way. So I don't know exactly what SD card I'm looking at. Like, is this the shitty one that I use for photos, or is this the fast one I use for videos? I gotta like go around and be like, oh, it's the that one. So it's just like, oh, by the way, I used the SanDisk Extreme Pro 300 megabytes, whatever per second, 128 gigs. Yeah, check out our kit page. This is where everything that we use is on our kit page. If you want to know all the lenses, all the gear, all the SD cards, all the SSDs, everything is all on there. I even recently updated it, so you'll like that. As you guys can tell, This is definitely not a Busta-Bust. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. It would be higher if the menu system was better. If it just fixed its weird little quirks, I think you'd be fine. I think it would honestly be a 10 out of 10 if it had that, and if it had 10-bit 4K, 60 frames. Like, honestly, that'd just be juicy. Or 120 frames, 4K, 10-bit. But then again, I'm wishing for too much.
Or if it was just like an Ari that was like the same price as the Sony.
Yeah, honestly,
that'd be cool. If
facts.
Sony could do that,
Facts.
that'd be nice. That like they just buy Aris and slap their name on it.
Hell yeah, bro. And I also wish it had a fucking flip out screen. Like, how many times we gotta fucking tell you, Sony, we don't want this piece of shit like this. Like, I might just fucking break it and snap it off. But damn, bro, like, is it really hard to get it going like this? And yeah, so other than that, it's a very great camera. I love it. Yeah, it's definitely not Busta-Bust. I think this is catered toward wedding videographers, music video directors, and travel photographers and vloggers. I mean, well, not vloggers because you don't got the flip out screen, but if you're okay with vlogging without the flip out screen, because if you have it wide enough and the autofocus is great, you're kind of good, you know what I'm saying? You don't really gotta worry too much about it. If you like this video, subscribe and leave a like, hit that notification bell, comment down below what you guys thought. You know, I'd love to comment with you guys. I'm a lonely guy, I have no friends, except for Chad. He drives me nuts sometimes. So if you guys could talk to me sometimes, I'd really appreciate that. Check out that My Kit page. It's just has everything up in there. I will leave links to some of the projects that I've done with the Sony A7 III in the description below, so that you guys can actually see some of the images and whatnot, and decide for yourself if this camera's for you or not. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's what I was with. Twitter. And yeah, hit us up. What's up? What you guys want to see next? Peace. Peace.